middle class built this country.
All right, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. If you are still here, I just want to thank you for coming in. This particular speech, to me, it sounds more like a it's more of a political speech, which is actually supposed to be the actual law school speech. So I will double check and see what actually happened with that. It was supposed to be live at 1 o'clock p.m. I presume that is on the East Coast time. But, of course, that's already filled with the rhetoric there. It's a similar rhetoric when you hear presidential candidates, former President Barack Obama. They all come in with this whole virtuous thing and this whole... They have to open the umbrella, open the tent with the wealth and the class struggles and who's wealthier and this is an inequity over here and there's disparities here. Yet they typically, when they are in control, they tend to raise taxes on everybody. So how does that help rebuild the middle class? A ton of virtue signaling here. Nothing really original about what he's presenting there. So I'm not sure. I want to make sure that this is the correct... Actually, this is not the correct speech. But I thought for some reason that they were actually covering the speech live, his commencement speech. So maybe I have another shot at that. But thanks so much for coming in. I would like to take a moment to talk about the memberships on Patreon. So the Patreon platform is being launched as we speak, and I think next week there will be more happening with the membership. I'm actually probably going to do a membership drive. I will be doing a membership drive, and you can find out more there. But you can start to go on already. You can go on already, and there will be things there probably within the next 48 hours or 72 hours that will be exclusive to those who are supporting via Patreon. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this bit of a brief. Just gonna hit on two things regarding Biden's speech. It looks like Biden's getting it seems like even Fox News and all these mainstream media hacks they've actually endorsed Biden on some level, talking about his, they tout his enduring spirit, his long career, how he's such a fine candidate. I mean, can you get any more? If he gets any more full of it, his eyes will be brown, because this is just, they are absolutely being as dishonest as they can be putting this out. So what I will do is, just wanted to speak and mention a couple of things. For one, of course, Pelosi opened up. She usually does her press conferences on Thursday, but she's campaigning, I guess, for her $3 trillion bill, which is full of pork and barrel spending, very little for the American people. In fact, she pretty much starts out, doing her side eye and her commentary and getting jabs into the president. She was, of course, when she's confronted with her own comments, how dare you ask me about anything that I actually said about the president? I mean, I acknowledged that he's the president, and that we don't want a president that's taking unauthorized drugs or narcotics, and his weight group and his age group. And she's just so genuine. I mean, this is absolutely, she is so vile. I don't know. And she's always yapping bipartisan. That's her MO. She starts everything off the same way. And she's talking about, oh, well, I hope we can come together. There's no way you're going to come together with anyone. Not with your rhetoric and not with your vile and nasty jabs and your lies. I mean, to me, she is being exposed all the time and mocking how prayerful she is and quoting the Constitution when they are obviously acting outside of their oath of office all of the time. The spending that they want to do, the fiscal irresponsibility, the special interest, the last stimulus bill, the pork that was in that bill never went to the American people. In fact, they stripped benefits from an organization, from the Kennedy Center musicians, and they basically laid those people off after they took 25 million dollars for the Kennedy Center, and then they laid off the musicians and the conductor after that was signed. So right now, she's not only is she campaigning, of course, for this in the $3 trillion bill, or whatever they're calling it, the Heroes Act, or whatever they're calling it. It's also the cheat by mail scam is ramped up, claiming to save they're the saviors of the United States Postal Office and the services there. Just, it's thick, and I just don't know if there's an end to, if this corruption, if this doesn't stop. It's like we're on a freight train. We're on a train that's running so fast. And if it doesn't get reined in, there's never going to be, we're just going to end up being enslaved. Executive orders and enslavements. We're getting it from all sides. Tyrannical municipalities at the state level, at the local level. And not to mention, you've got the WHO. I think the president has basically sent them a letter, and they were questioned about whether or not, what was their response to the president's letter. They've got 30 days. He's given them 30 days, which I really don't think there's going to be anything different. You cannot change the core ideology of the UN, the parented group, the WHO organization. This guy, Tedros Adhanom, already has a record in being sued by other countries for cover-ups on other pandemics and epidemic. So how are they going to change? The domain of competency is the question. He's totally on mute most of the time when he's on these press conferences. Shout out to the Definition of Anarchy. How are you doing? I'm in the middle of, I'm about halfway through one of your videos right now. Shout out to you, the Definition. I'm really enjoying your video, your content. And there's a second one, so you are rolling it out. You're getting it in this morning. Congratulations on that. I'm not quite finished, but I'm enjoying where I am. So shout out to you for sure. Thank you so much. And just let me do a shout out to everybody that's here right now. This is a bit impromptu. It wasn't scheduled, but it was my goal to bring you the 1 p.m. commencement speech at Columbia Law School. So that was the initial feature of this stream, but I will figure it out, and I'm sure I'll have something to offer on that later. But to get it in real time, I think was pretty, the jewel of I wanted it to be the centerpiece of this stream. But of course, no doubt these other issues are just as pressing. But so I'll give a shout out to everybody that's in the stream. It looks like I'm showing one viewer right now. I'm not sure if you guys could hit that like button. And also I'm just going to say shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Thank you so much for all that you do. I also announced the winners of the playlist of the week, and I've already started that. So Thank you so much for all that you do and your loyalty for coming in and hanging out. Shout out to the Definition of Anarchy. You are so welcome. I'm really enjoying it. And shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Shout out to DJ Vision Barnett. It's been a long time. It seems like it's been a long time. So thank you guys so much. But then that was just a sample of. It's going to be a sample of just a policy speech, or just a more of a campaign speech. But Biden is doing an actual live campaign, a live commencement speech with the Columbia Law School today. So if I can bring you that coverage on any level, I will be happy to do so. I will be happy to bring that to you, but right now I'm not sure. I'm sure there's going to be some challenges with that because I'm not sure what network is covering it or who's covering it. So who knows? Effie loves America. Effie's bot is here just listening in the beep. Shout out to you, Effie loves America. I'm so glad you're here. I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you. Shout out to you. So as soon as if I can get the coverage on the speech, it's actually probably 30 minutes in. I don't know. I think that would be an interesting speech to watch. I think just the introduction, Joe Biden's introduction is worth its weight in gold. So it's even on this one. But shout out to everybody for coming into this short stream. But this is specifically I will use the 10 o'clock hour is going to be an hour that I will use for brunch stream news, and that's something that I want to do every week. So at least on Mondays I want to do the brunch stream news, and of course there will be other evening shows. But also, if you don't mind, I have placed the actual the Patreon link into the description box. And of course, this is the beginning. This is the launch week of the Black Spring rewards on the page. So you can go over. You're welcome to go over and see what's there. And then, like I said, all week there will be those things will be rolling out this week. So thank everybody so much for joining me on this segment. But I was just giving you a bit of a few stories. Like we had the WHO story, Nancy Pelosi's press conference, which she typically does these press conferences on Thursday. So, but I think because she's campaigning or trying to ramp up this support for this bill, which is not, I don't think that bill is going to pass. I mean, I've gone through it. We went through it last week, or we went through it a few days ago to see what's in that actual bill. But of course, I think it's fair to say that there may even be there's more oversight committees being formed, and of course a potential 2.0 to the impeachment of President Trump. So, that's pretty much. I don't think there's anything extraordinary about that, because there again, that's what they've spent their whole 4 years or 3.5. We're getting better than 3.5 years trying to impeach this president. But I will say that some things are going to have to change. Some things are going to have to change even between now and I think November, because the more restrictions, the more lockdowns, the people are losing faith in what's going on. They're losing, we're doing it. People are ramping things up from a legal standpoint, but the other level of it, the other type of civil disobedience, including the protest and all that, I think those things are definitely going to continue. There's quite a few things that are scheduled, and there's more things that will be scheduled. If I have any access to any of that coverage or any new information on that, I will bring that to you as well. And you can look for that between here and, of course, over on Patreon. So shout out once again to the mods. I really appreciate you guys for all you do. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Shout out to DJ Vision Barnett. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to the Definition of Anarchy. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. And also shout out to Effie Loves America. I haven't seen you in a while, Effie. I hope you're doing well. If I'm not mistaken, Effie, are you in the Florida area? If you're still out there? I am on, this is purely on the YouTube platform right now. And so I can't bring anybody on to this segment. But the next stream that I do, I may do a stream again later. And I will do that stream via StreamYard. So if anybody's interested in coming on that stream, they can do that. But this was pretty impromptu, pretty sporadic, that I just decided to jump on and see if I could bring you that coverage. So it's just interesting to see the way that the mainstream media is reacting to Fox News, for one. Fox News to me is a rhino media, rhino Mr. and Mrs. Media. But to me, it's just it's more vile and more hypocrisy that they're lending credibility to the Biden campaign with all the Tara Reade stuff that has come up. They are still that they would lend any that they are lending any credibility. And they just act like it's nothing. Like everything that's come up, the whole Ukraine deal, the whole Hunter Biden deal, it's like nobody, whose mind is that fickle? I mean, why is it that it seems that when the Democrats do something and there's fact, there's visual evidence, that it gets absolutely no criticism from the media? I mean, is everybody hypnotized? I mean, are they sprinkling some type of hypnotic pixie dust all over the land? Shout out to Chrysler Imperial. Your comment, I'm going to read your comment. It says, Chrysler says, seems like Fox News is getting more wishy-washy with their coverage, but I agree, Mr. and Mrs. Wright. They are. I can't, that's just not to me, the source is just not, I mean, they're practicing their own cognitive dissonance. The networks, you're bought and paid for. You gotta be, because you are ignoring things that are factual. It's just, are they waiting for the ad campaigns to come out against him before they take a position, or before they support, or they throw their support, or they throw credibility behind a candidate? I just think that it's, the writing, they do all these glittery generalizations and these glittery credibility, writings, flowery writings about this man with all the controversy that's going on. And it's been nonstop. But all they ever focus on is, all they do is take jabs at Trump. I've even seen Chris Wallace. You can never tell what they're so inconsistent. You can never tell what they're doing. And to me, they should be delivering news, of course, without bias. But to me, the fact checking, I just don't know where the reliable source, who represents unbiased or just deliver the facts. and let the candidate defend themselves. And then why isn't, I mean, Tara Reade, is she going to be heard? Is she going to take a stand? I mean, is anything going to happen with that? Or are we just going to keep shellacking Biden as a presidential candidate all the way until November? I'm just, it's exhausting, and it's just so disingenuous. It's just, you don't even really want to watch the news. It's just filled with just so much. I mean, Columbia Law School, I mean, I don't remember where, if he attended. I don't know if he attended Columbia, Joe Biden, but, you know, he's made a lot of fabrications about his own academic, rankings. And of course, the plagiarism amongst the party, amongst the DNC, they borrow each other's speeches all the time. If you just look back at Pete Buttigieg hijacked Barack Obama's speech. One of his last attempts, or one of his last speeches, he totally hijacked a speech. It was so close. It was such a fine line that you could, if you sneezed at it, they just literally changed a couple of words. They pulled out the thesaurus, and Pete Buttigieg spouted the same speech during his campaign. And I got to give it to him. He did have, you know, he came off as he was, you know, being really genuine, and he just cares about people, and it's all about, you know, it's all about equality, and, you know, but, you know, many people can see through this. It's just so exhausted over these politics, these new age politicians and the career ones. I mean, Nancy's got a template that she's on. She just adds more Trump. She just sprays more Trump hate on it, and then sprinkles some racism on it, and then that's what you got. So here, let me just go ahead and catch up with you. Chrysler Imperial H says, seems like Fox News. Okay, I got that one, and it looks like you started a message and you retracted it. But that's cool. You know, it's frustrating to, it's just the double standard. The double standard is what is one of the offenses here. You know, you can't get to, you know, the lack of veracity is horrible. You know, I think I think everyone should do their own individual research. I am never saying, oh, defer to me. I'm de facto news. Oh, I'm de facto black. Oh, I'm de facto. I'm not claiming to be a super entity or professing to be, you know, a expert on any of these things. But I'm saying, you know, people should be curious, or at least interested in getting closer. You know, at least, can we just get to the facts? Can we just get to the facts? Or do we not believe in facts anymore? Are we all of the school that there's no absolute truth? Then does that also mean we are denying history? Does that mean we're going to deny policies? It's just that we're getting into this no man's land. It's a spiral of no man's land, and that's why people become numb. They've become numb because we're laced with so much. Shout out to Effie. Effie Loves America says, I advocate for politicians going back to dueling, quicker that way. Nice, Effie. I really appreciate that. That's great. That's great for a great tone for this segment, for sure. It's just way too much. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've recognized the bad players and who they are, but But what do we do? You know, is the ballot box the answer? Is it the answer to this whole swamp faction? Is it the answer to just the corporate corruption, these organizations? And it just seems like even the NBAs, the NFLs, just all of these people are just so, they have pledged, it's almost like they have pledged an allegiance to something else other than, they've pledged their allegiance somewhere else. In fact, I think there's just so this this paradigm. I'm not going to say it's new. This abnormal paradigm, it's exhausting, and it's affecting everything. It's just being sprinkled on everything. And for people that couldn't think for themselves, well, they're even at a greater disadvantage. You got people that refuse to think for themselves. They need the Oprah Winfreys. They need the Gayle Kings. They need the LeBron Jameses. They need all these people from a cultural perspective. I'm saying they need people to tell them how to think or what to think. They refuse to self-educate. They refuse to do it. They have no larger frameworks. They have no larger concepts. All they have is what they're fed. And if you go against that, then all of a sudden you're an oppressor. You're a victimizer. You're an oppressor. I mean, I've heard people say, and here again, this is from a cultural perspective. I've heard people say, yeah, those people in Michigan were going to the Capitol with their guns and, I said, well, you had the same right. You had the right to do the same thing. But what did you choose to do? Why do you ever ask, why are they doing that? Are you not curious? Are you not curious as to why people are doing things? Or what rights do they have to do things? Because you need to understand, no matter what your background is, if one person in this country loses their rights under the guise of this pandemic, then we're all going to lose. So we can't even unify on our rights. We can't even defend our rights because we're so divided. And that's what, and honestly, the left and the progressives, that's what they're good at doing. They're going to continue from here on out. They're going to continue to find ways to divide. They're going to continue to sprinkle division. Well, we can't get over one thing before there's another. So I anticipate that there's going to be some more major events, or some people refer to them as false flags. There will be more all the way up until November. Shout out to Effie. Again, Army of Darkness. Projection. They accuse others of that which they do. Yes, they would do. Yes. And I'm just thinking, we are the antithesis of united. And if you break it, you can keep it. If you keep deconstructing, you'll find it's everywhere. There's division amongst family members because one group refuses to they're not curious, but then they don't want to self-educate themselves. They just worship I don't worship my skin color. I don't. I've said that on here before. I, for one, can take criticism, and I can also, I think I should be able to if give criticism. But nobody can say anything, even if it's wrong. Even if it's even if it's right or even if it's wrong, it's just no one can say anything. And I've seen people go at, they just go back and forth. And just because a person is of a different background, they're not allowed to call anything out because they're not of the same matching skin color. Or I don't know where that comes from. I don't know where that comes from. But it's gotten worse. That's why I think it's fair to say that it's definitely much worse. And thanks so much for everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring. I know I'm kind of turning it into a bit of a rant, but I guess I should have entitled this more of a double standards, and I guess it's just plain politics. And yeah, so trending. And another thing, we'll continue to have these commencements from either former presidents and former administrations, and it's like they never left. It's just like a horrible, like a divorce. Like you can't get people to move on, but you just have to keep sprinkling. You can't accept either you've got an agenda or you cannot, or you will not allow there to be peace. I've heard people talk about that this was, we were supposed to have a peaceful transfer of power. Well, we've had anything but peace since Trump got in office. We've had anything but that. And we still don't have it. We still don't have it. We're never going to have it. It's like I said, these people. It's like they've pledged their allegiance to something else, and it has nothing to do with the U.S. Nothing to do with with American value. Nothing. It's just we don't have that. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And the next time I'll make sure that I'm actually bringing you, the coverage. But I'm not sure if I'm not sure about the access on that. Because of course on YouTube they will yank things down if they don't approve of you sharing it. Which I'm thinking that they may not resist because it's an establishment figure. They may not yank it down. Shout out to Robert L. How are you? If you guys could hit the like button. I'm not really seeing, let me see. I'm seeing that one person is actually viewing this. Okay, but maybe my system is just outdated. So yes, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment. If anybody has anything else. Yes, it's pretty radical, the projection that it's all projection, and then the narrative is just out of control. I will say on the right, they do not control the narrative very well. Not at all. Not at all. Thanks so much if you got for those of you that are here. Let's see, what am I seeing? I'm seeing, okay, I see it now that there are four people actually watching here. And I'm seeing that an update. I think maybe my system is just like quite behind right now. But, it happens here. So I will be back. There will be some other content coming out later. And I thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Also, always take a look at the community page, the community tab, because there you'll find out what's going on. Thank you so much. Shout out to Robert L. And also, if you are subscribed, I don't know if you're new here, of course, take a look around. And if you will take a look around and make sure that you are if you are here for the first time, I'd love to make sure that I'm either connected to, usually if you're here, I've either connected to you or I've interacted with you on some level. But we have lots of great content creators in the stream, and I thank everybody for joining me again on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And if you're around later, you might catch me again, but I encourage everybody to go over, take a look at the Patreon page, and there you'll find out what's happening there, and you'll also find out the shout outs to the playlist of the week. And those playlists, actually, let me go, before I leave, once again, shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. I'm going to go ahead and drop the links of those viewers, or those channels. I will drop those channel links into the description box. So we have, and I'll go ahead and call those names out as well. So we have Chrysler Imperial H, who is fantastic. It's very consistent. He comes in. He's a great content creator. Also, let's see, we had the definition of anarchy. We have, so his link will be in the stream. You guys want to check each other out, go around and see if you find a kindred spirit. And I'll keep you up to date. I'll keep you up to date on the guest developments, or you'll start to see that between the community tab and of course Patreon. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that. And we had Old School Wolf Media, which Old School is a great content creator. He's excellent. You want to check him out. He's always got a great series going on and great guest on his show. And then there's a Nacon Shop. Nacon Shop has great energy on his show. So this is okay. So we'll have one more, but so go by and check out any of these great content creators. And the more you come in, the more chances, the better your chances are of winning the playlist of the week. So we'll continue the playlist of the week probably for the rest of this month. I'm not sure because there is a Patreon membership. I'm not sure if I will continue the program, but I might, but I do know that I'm offering some other things on. So thanks so much, guys, for coming in. I'll see you guys on the next live stream. And shout out to Effie Loves America. Yes, Pete the Patriot just went live. Thank you for that. And shout out to everybody else in the stream. And I will see you next time on Black Spring with Autumn for the brunch stream news. Have a great day.